Welcome to another garden update. I'm Katerina, this is Sustainably Rooted, and welcome to my channel. We talk all things from zero waste, sustainable living, and my goal is to make things as accessible and sustainable for you and your family. All right, so it's July 7th, and I didn't do a June video, but check out my May video up there so you can kind of see what the beginning part of this garden looked like and just kind of where it's taken off and grown. Of course, I'll do an August one so you can kind of see if you have never seen our videos. I am in zone 8B here in Washington, and if you haven't followed me on Instagram, that's where I kind of update you on some different tips and tricks when it comes to gardening, but also sustainable living and zero waste. I would love to get a lot of input and build up a community. Like I said, I just want to make things accessible because we really have to intervene and do something, because as many of you experiencing there and have been growing maybe for several years, you see that change in our climate and you see the impact that we have on our environment around us. And we have to intervene. We have to do something and make those changes. And again, follow me on Instagram, check out my other videos to see kind of what you can do to kind of be more environmentally conscious in your life. So without further ado, let's check out our garden and see what's been growing. All right, let's go bed by bed. What's growing, some different tips. I've got some trellising tips for you. Those new here, I've got a couple different beds. I've got a strawberry herb bed here. I've got flower beds here. I kind of consider that all one. And then I've got 3 beds, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 beds on this side. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. There is a bed kind of in the back here that kind of continues out this way, but there's not a lot in this back part, so you'll see. All right, so here are all my wildflowers growing. Lots of different ones. I think these are the bachelor buttons. These are cosmos. I've got some poppies in here that are closed for the evening. Some sunflowers, marigolds, pumpkins. So in this bed, if you remember, kale, this is a cauliflower, this is chamomile. It's very flat. I don't think chamomile is supposed to be this flat. I think it grows more upright, but maybe it is more vining than I expected it to be. Got my cucumbers starting to vine. I've got 2 kale plants here, 1, 2. This one's a curly leaf variety, whereas this one over here is more of a Dino or Toscana variety. I don't remember which one it is, or if there is a difference. I've got cauliflower. Little tip for you. This cauliflower gets pretty good shade, but if it was really getting exposed to sun, to prevent it from kind of getting sunspots or burns, you could cover it by tying the leaves together. I just use a bread tie and tie them that way. That's what I did on some of these other ones. I love this bed here because it has such a good example of companion planting and just working together. I've got onions here in the center. This is all carrots. And I've got chive here at the bottom. The chives and the onions definitely help keep pests out from the cabbages. The marigolds and the chamomile help promote as well. I've got some good carrots here. Let's see if there we go. Woo! Oh, that's such a beauty. Wow, look at that. Got more cucumbers on this side. I've got 2 different varieties. I've got rapini right here that's growing. I've got a row. It's so fast, rapini, and you can eat all of it, including the flowers. So we just constantly have rapini growing. There's a lettuce down here, and there is a couple beets tucked in as well. I've got nasturtiums and green beans trellising up the trellis, and they're going all the way up. I've got it all the way up here to almost to the top, the overarch. I've got a pumpkin here growing, and I've got another right next to it. So I've got 2 pumpkin plants, same variety. I want to say they're the sweet pie pumpkins. Got my strawberry planter. All right, next bed next to it. This is the bed that has the hoops that we started early February. And we got one really beautiful cabbage out here, and I've got a couple more growing as well. I've got some celery in between, and I've got some marigolds as well. This kind of empty row, if you will, I've got one zucchini plant that I planted that's where the cabbage was. This is another zucchini right here. And you can see the zucchini has a tomato cage in it. And that's just gonna help keep the leaves up and out. I'm gonna go through, you can kind of see that I've started doing it, but I started trimming at the bottom. I have a video, so check out the link on zucchinis and what I do. So feel free to check that out. I've got a couple lettuce starts going. These are volunteer tomatoes, I believe, based off what I see over there, that they're a cherry tomato variety. I've got a broccoli here that's going to seed. That's okay, I want that to go to seed. The flowers are great for the bees. The seeds I can collect and then continue to grow more. Again, marigolds, and these are all my beets growing. We've harvested 1 or 2 beets, and although these have leaf miners, you eat the leaves anyway, so, or you could, but you don't have to. I'm doing it for the beet root. So, broccoli, I've got a couple more broccolis with some heads forming. Here I've got edamame or soybean. I'm new to growing soybeans, so feel free to drop some ideas in the comments. I was hoping that I could kind of do like this and trellis them up, but they do not grow like regular beans. I was a little surprised. So I don't know if I have to do how I've done with my pumpkins. So if you can see all my pumpkins here, I've got them coming up and over. And I've got some just regular green beans growing up underneath. I have some wonderful oregano. And it brings us to this other one across the way. So I've got my beautiful trellises coming up and over, and pumpkins kind of on either side, green beans starting to go on either side. I was filming, and there you go. All right, so with my pumpkin plants, what I do is, and I'll do this with my cucumbers as well, as I collect bread ties. And what that does is it just holds it in place so that these little tendrils can wrap around and kind of hold it in place right now. Right now I've got no tendrils really wrapping. I think I've got one like right here, but it just holds it there so it can keep going. I've got a better example down here where it's held in place, but then I've got these tendrils that are helping to cling it in place. So I've got a couple different pumpkins. I think I've got only this huge patch only has 2 pumpkins in it. And so I've got one right here in front, and then I've got one here in the back. And they're both kind of Cinderella style pumpkins, or fairy tale pumpkins. I don't remember which one. I've got a watermelon plant hanging in between them. I would guess and say we probably won't end up with a watermelon based off of where we're at, but who knows. And then this is a garbanzo bean plant, but it is very shaded and leggy, and it's only one, so I probably won't get anything, but I'm gonna watch it grow and just see what it does so that I can be better about it next year. Oh gosh, here's another one. Back to our regular scheduled program. So again, we were talking about this bed, and we have 2 big pumpkins in it. We have a parsley at the bottom, and then we do have a bunch of corn. I don't remember how much I've shared but a lot of this corn was about, I don't know, probably a little bit smaller than this, and something went through and pulled all of it out, and this stalk is the only one that remained. And then I went through and planted another round, and so a lot of these are much lower than they're supposed to. What has been told by me is knee-high by 4th of July, and it's past the 4th of July, and these are all not knee-high, so I'm a little worried that they won't really make it, but we'll see. I've got a couple nasturtiums that are in here. This is my herb strawberry patch, so I'm going to do very quick around the outside of all of my herbs, and then the strawberries are on the inside, and the bunnies did a lot of munching on the greens. Did have several strawberries, but not a lot. I think they're just still developing and all that. Some sage, some parsleys, some oregano. These are going to seed, that's okay. On this side I do have a couple corn stalks in here amongst this climbing rose that has just taken off and overtaken this bed. So corn, strawberries. All right, on this side, this bed has been underperforming significantly, and so I think there needs to be a lot of amending that needs to take place. These cabbages that have gone nowhere, a parsley plant. This zucchini plant is a yellow zucchini, yellow 49er. This is a zucchini Black Beauty and zero performance. Like, look at that. That was planted the same time and it's doing really poorly. So I don't know. These are collards. If you remember from the last video, I mentioned those should be much bigger in the spring and they're finally starting to grow and maybe we'll get some fall harvest. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna leave them there. I have nothing else to plant in here, so might as well. Across from that bed, here's my potato patch. So I've got 2 different varieties here that have not been done with, so I'm just leaving them. I had 2 different ones here. I've pulled them out and harvested them, and I put in 2 sweet potatoes. I've never grown sweet potatoes, so I don't think I'll get a lot. I don't think I have a hot enough season long term to grow. I should have started them earlier if I wanted something, but we'll see. I'm waiting for these to die down, then I'll harvest them. That's why I harvested these, they died off. Cabbage plants with some happy bug that has been eating all the leaves. These are parsnips that are starting to grow. Very hard to see. These are pinto beans on this side, and these are green beans around here. They should not be this yellow, which means that the potatoes are either taking nutrients from it or they're being overwatered. So I'm gonna just have to keep an eye on both of these and just make sure. This is a good sign. I haven't seen that, so that's good. But they look nothing like the green beans on the other side, and they were planted at the same time, so it's a little sad. All right, new variety. These are purple velour green beans, well, purple beans, and they're so beautiful. The flowers are so beautiful. It's really cool to see. I am noticing they say pole beans, but they're not really sending out any runners to climb up, so I'm not sure. I might just have to cinch them back. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this one is a butternut squash. This one was a volunteer. I have no idea what this is, but it's very happy. Brings us to our tomatoes. All right, so if you remember the other video, my tomatoes had died. It didn't, this one I had 2 that lasted, and then I had a big gap here. So here are 1 Roma tomato that I bought. This one I grew from seed. And then I got these 3 for free from a wonderful person down the road that I asked, hey, my tomato died, do you have any? And she said yes, absolutely. So these are all San Marzanos, all 4 of them, and they're very close together. For those of you that do grow tomatoes, you might think, wow, those are really close together. And so if you watch my tomato video, you'll know how I clip them to kind of keep the air circulation. That's the key. And if you've watched my other video, you also know that last year they went really crazy, and because I did not trellis them properly. And so this year I've tried to do kind of a Georgia weave. And so I've got this single stem. I'm trying to do a single stem all the way up, and then kind of kept them tied back, cutting back a lot of the leaves so that they can kind of live near each other. I will keep lots of eyes on them and try to kind of cut the leaves back to create that circulation. And then this one is a beefsteak. I think it's like sites or silts or something like that. So quick side note, as these are growing, they provide some level of shade. The sun comes up on this side. This side's east, comes up. It gets sun on one side, comes over the top, and then on this side right here is where it gets evening sun. And so it gets shade a lot of the time. It does get some hot afternoon sun. So I've been really mindful of that, but I've tried to put in a couple lettuces to go underneath my tomatoes. I've got a small kale starting to grow. I put in a bunch of carrots right here, and I've got a ton of other lettuces over here. Again, growing from the shade, hopefully. And as those get bigger, those will get more shaded. Chives and a type of onion over there. On this side, I've got a huge 2 tomatillo plants. Having 2 helps double the production. Obviously because there's 2, but also just it helps each other. Got lettuce underneath it, again providing those tomatoes are going to provide some shade. I did plant some purple radishes here, so hopefully those will grow. You can see some onions in the back there. We got some parsley, and I don't know if you can see, but there's little carrots starting to go here. Carrots take about 90 to 100 days. They take a long time, so we're constantly putting carrots in. And then we've got 2 tomato plants over here. These are more cherry variety, where the other ones are more paste and beefsteak ones on the other side. Some marigold. You've seen a couple basil plants. This is a kale plant. It's hard to see, but I do have some tomatoes growing. You can kind of see them through there. This is a sun sugar on this side. This is a strawberry, a black strawberry. Green beans on this side, going all the way up and over the trellis. Looks so wonderful. With some nasturtiums, which just haven't taken off yet. A lot of my nasturtiums are kind of lagging behind. And I've got another, you know what? I don't know what this is. It's either cantaloupe or it's a pumpkin. It has such soft leaves. It doesn't seem like a pumpkin. It's very soft, not like a pumpkin. I've got 2 more pumpkin plants over here growing. And then I've got a volunteer broccoli plant. I don't even know if he has a head. Yeah, he may or may not. Not yet. And I've got a bell peppers, which I've harvested a bell already. And then I've got jalapeno. And over here is where I planted my beets. So there you go. As you can see, the garden is growing very nicely. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I hope you can see some different things that are growing, maybe got some different ideas of what's going on in your garden. I hope that you can like and subscribe. Love to hear some of your comments below. I would love to hear from you. I would love if you could check out some of the other videos and just learn a little bit more about sustainable living, about zero waste, and how to be more eco-conscious in your life. And thank you for being sustainable. Have a good one.